What's up? Co-pilot involving semis.
In the aftermath of a massive chain reaction crash involving at least 100 vehicles in Michigan, who stands to benefit from the smashed cars, trucks, and semis?
Queen City News starts now.
A Rowan County man allegedly involved in a deadly drunk driving crash could also face federal immigration charges. Thanks for joining us at 10. I'm Caroline Boyer. The collision happened shortly after 11 Friday night. Investigators say a pickup ran into a sedan on Amity Hill Road just east of the Iredell County line. Queen City News reporter David Schumann is in studio tonight. David, this is a case that's left two families just utterly heartbroken.
Yeah, Caroline, a 20-year-old man and his 19-year-old girlfriend were killed in this horrific crash. And now it's come out in court that the driver charged with their deaths may not be in the U.S. legally.
On Tuesday, a judge set Juan Aguilar's bond to more than $5 million. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement also put a detainer on him. Aguilar, who lives in Cleveland, North Carolina, is charged with 2 counts of felony death by vehicle as well as DWI. The North Carolina State Highway Patrol says Aguilar crashed into another car late Friday night in Rowan County, killing the driver, 20-year-old Fletcher Harris, and his passenger, 19-year-old Skylar Provenza. Harris was a goalie for Catawba College's soccer team. In a statement, his coach says, "Our hearts are broken. Fletcher was profoundly loved and will be missed by everyone in our program and community. His dedication, character, and positivity left a lasting impact on all of us." Aguilar's next court date is scheduled for next month. The judge was unable to determine if Aguilar is a citizen or legal resident of the U.S. Court documents show the defendant has a Mexican passport and had a strong odor of alcohol and was unsteady on his feet.
Social media posts about Fletcher and Skylar are getting thousands of likes and comments. One family friend wrote about Skylar that she was feisty, full of grit, and beautiful inside and out with a contagious smile that lit up the room. Caroline?
Such a sad story, David. Thank you. International health authorities will meet in April to determine if the U.S. has lost its status as a measles-free nation. It's in response to the at least 2 outbreaks in the past year, including one in upstate South Carolina. Experts say the U.S. may soon follow Canada in losing its status of having eradicated the disease. The reevaluation is dependent upon whether a single measles chain has spread uninterrupted within the U.S. for 12 months. That reevaluation comes as South Carolina officials report 646 cases in that outbreak, including 88 new ones since Friday. North Carolina is now at 11 cases since last month, all of them linked to the rash of upstate cases. Scarlett Lizjak shares the message health leaders hope will spread.
The South Carolina Department of Public Health reported 88 new cases of measles in the state since Friday, bringing the total number of cases related to the upstate outbreak to 646. And the virus is not slowing down. On Tuesday, Bucumbe County Health and Human Services confirmed a child contracted the virus, making it the 6th in the county and at least the 9th in North Carolina. Local health experts say the virus has the ability to spread rapidly.
The virus is very contagious because it is spread through droplet and airborne modalities. So when somebody coughs or sneezes, they expel little water droplets out of their mouth or nose, even if they try to cover, and it can stay in the air for up to 2 hours.
South Carolina state health officials say 538 people are in quarantine and 33 are in isolation. Doctors say symptoms to watch for typically begin 7 to 12 days after exposure.
Typically, it doesn't start with rash. So fever first, and then accompanied by what we call the 3 C's. So cough, coryza, which is a fancy word for runny nose, and conjunctivitis, which is pink eye.
Officials say the measles outbreak began in late 2025 and has rapidly grown. Local healthcare providers say there are things you can do to help minimize the risk.
The incidences of measles in the nation and in South Carolina are 97% unvaccinated population. So the fact that the vaccine is that efficacious in providing us protection And even if it doesn't provide us full protection, it minimizes the symptoms.
Healthcare experts say if you believe you contracted measles, to call your doctor right away.
And to stay home, because realistically, there's no good treatment for measles other than what we call supportive care, which is rest, hydration, fever management.
People in Charlotte gathered at First Ward Park late this afternoon to protest ongoing ICE operations throughout the country. Today marked 1 year since President Trump took office for his second term. His use of immigration agents in major cities has been a large topic of discussion during the term. One of the protesters from today's demonstration says she fears for her neighbors.
I'm just sick of people being killed and taken from their homes. It's not right at all. I have neighbors, I have relatives that are Hispanic, and I'm concerned for them.
The Department of Homeland Security launched Operation Charlotte's Web back in November, which led to hundreds of immigration arrests in the area. Federal prosecutors say the Border Patrol commander was the target of a murder-for-hire plot in Illinois. Gregory Bovino, a graduate of Appalachian State University, was in charge of the operation in the Queen City. The man accused of trying to hire someone to kill the Border Patrol chief is on trial this week in Chicago. Sean Lewis details the allegations.
Martinez sat quietly in court, dressed in a dark suit and tie. His attorneys say the 37-year-old is a 30-year resident of Chicago and a construction worker. This case goes back to the height of Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago in the fall, and what prosecutors say is a text thread offering a bounty on the life of Border Patrol Field Chief Greg Bovino. Juan Espinoza Martinez is accused of posting a picture of Bovino on Snapchat and a message reading $2K on information when you get him and $10K if you take him down. Prosecutors initially said that Martinez was a high-ranking gang member. Since then, they've walked that back, now claiming that Martinez has an affinity for the Latin Kings street gang. Martinez attorneys in court today arguing that their client was simply talking about what he saw on social media. And when he was taken into custody, agents put words into his mouth to make their case. They say their client has no ties to gangs. Last week and again today, the government's case took some hits, with multiple pieces of evidence being excluded, meaning these jurors will never hear about those things during this trial.
Tomorrow night, Mecklenburg County commissioners will hear how and where citizens believe leaders should spend their tax money. Commissioners will hold a hearing at their first meeting to get public input on the upcoming fiscal year budget. The suggestions they get will help create the county spending plan that begins in July. The commission's meeting starts at 6 tomorrow night at the Government Center in Uptown. Stocks fell significantly on Wall Street today, with the Nasdaq and S&P 500 wiping out gains for the year. Analysts say investors are selling amid concerns about President Trump's new tariff threats against Europe and his call to take over Greenland. President Trump believes some sort of deal will be made so the U.S. can get Greenland, but he's not ruling out use of military force. He'll meet with European leaders tomorrow at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. As Kristen Naskow reports, allies are criticizing his strategy.
We have a lot of meetings scheduled on Greenland, and I think things are going to work out pretty well, actually.
Speaking to reporters Tuesday ahead of his trip to Switzerland, President Trump declined to specify how far he's willing to go to acquire Greenland.
You'll find out.
President Trump released text messages with European leaders discussing Greenland. In one message, French President Emmanuel Macron says, quote, "I do not understand what you are doing on Greenland." He then invites President Trump to dinner and offers to set up a meeting with various world leaders.
An endless accumulation of new tariffs that are fundamentally unacceptable.
At the World Economic Forum in Switzerland Tuesday, Macron blasted President Trump's threat of new tariffs. He urged the European Union to enact anti-coercion measures if tariffs are imposed. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said he believes a better approach involves countries working together to secure the Arctic.
Canada strongly opposes tariffs over Greenland and calls for focused talks to achieve our shared objectives of security and prosperity in the Arctic.
President Trump is scheduled to speak at the World Economic Forum on Wednesday. He's also set to host a signing ceremony Thursday for an agreement to rebuild Gaza. In Washington, I'm Kristen Eskow.
Here at the Pinpoint Weather Center, it's been 1,459 days. That's how many days it's been since we've seen 1 inch or more of snow in Charlotte. It's almost 4 years of no 1-inchers when it comes down to snow. But that could change this weekend. But unfortunately, it's not just snow we're tracking, possibly an icy mix as well. We're detailing it for you next on your Pinpoint Weather Forecast.
The aftermath of a chaotic chain reaction crash in Michigan. The praise for first responders and what's left of the cleanup. And South Carolina lawmakers' plans to protect the state's monuments, why it comes at a crucial time for one city.
We got plenty coming up at 11 on Carolina Sports Live. The Hornets on the eve of a big-time matchup on national television against the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Spectrum Center. We're going to preview that one, plus a full slate of college hoops, including a thriller between NC State and Clemson. And the NASCAR season going to be here before you know it. We chop it up with the stars in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and a whole lot more at 11 o'clock on CSL.
You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. Officials say it took 6 fire departments, dozens of officers and deputies, and scores of tow trucks to clear a major Michigan highway after a 100-vehicle pileup. Duncan McLean talked with emergency managers about their response and the businesses expected to benefit from the crashes.
Highway westbound I-196 near the 57. Several vehicle pileups involving semis.
Ottawa County Central Dispatch running at full speed just before 10:30 Monday morning.
A 44-year-old male in a semi 820 truck with a headless laceration and a 10-20.
As they rallied resources from all over the county.
If fire is needed, will you please tone Jamestown and Hudsonville for that one?
In all, according to Emergency Management Director Lou Hunt, they got help from 3 law enforcement agencies, half a dozen fire departments, and local transportation companies, plus food and beverage donations for first responders from local businesses, all at the drop of a hat.
I've said before, we've got the best first responders in the world here in Ottawa County, and they were on it.
Amid coordination with first responders, the emergency management team was also staging recovery of people from that pileup.
We have a great relationship with Hudsonville, so they were able to open up the high school for us and the cafeteria on a day when the high school wasn't open, which is just tremendous.
Hudsonville provided 3 buses, while Max Transit sent 2 equipped to pick people up with mobility issues. At the school, they ended up with more volunteers than people from the pileup. That amount of help and central staging location allowing drivers to take the next step in recovery, figuring out what to do with their salvaged cars.
I think it was a really great plan that Ottawa County put into effect and where they moved everyone.
The folks at Auto Body Experts, right around the corner from Hudsonville High School, heard the chatter on police scanners and braced for business.
We call it white gold outside because Michigan people are a little different how we drive and what we're made of.
But on Tuesday afternoon, they were still waiting for cars to pile up in their parking lot.
A lot of those people, like the car you see way off in the gully, they maybe rode over a tree and have damages or whatever it might be, or they're driving it right now and they don't understand what happened, or the dents or the dings and stuff like that. So it kind of takes a few days for it to trickle in, as well as the insurance companies take a few days to process it.
Once insurance adjusters finish their work, owners will contact their shop of choice to set up repairs or salvage yards for their totals, leaving just the memory of Monday's miraculously non-fatal pileup.
People in the Carolinas are preparing for a winter storm expected to hit the southeastern U.S. this weekend. Upstate transportation crews are getting trucks and supplies ready to spread salt and brine on roads to prevent icing. The road treatments could start as soon as tomorrow. Officials are telling drivers to slow down and stay alert when conditions worsen.
Just give them some extra space. Keep several car lengths of space between you and that vehicle ahead of you. They'll have their lights flashing. And anytime you see our crews on the side of the road, please slow down, stay alert, put your phone down, really pay attention, because at the end of the day, we want everyone to go home safely.
Transportation crews say drivers should also keep an eye out for their trucks, which will be running around the clock. Taking a live look tonight at downtown Monroe, where it is a chilly and clear night. All eyes, though, are on the weekend forecast. Meteorologist Brandon Lawson joins me now. Brandon, what can you tell us about the winter weather we're expecting?
Yeah, so going to be coming in Saturday afternoon and continuing through the day on Sunday. That appears to be the timing. The other things that we've got to figure out is just what we're going to see. Snow, sleet, freezing rain, all on the table, but it's just a matter of when we might see those and how much of those we might see. Those are the biggest question marks we'll be asking as we go, continuing to answer as we go through the course of this week. Right now, live look from King Street and Boone. We've got another very, very cold night ahead. Temperatures dropping back in the teens of the mountains tonight. We'll be in the 20s here towards Charlotte. So throughout this week, I think the big thing that everybody's going to be focused on is the winter storm. And it's not a question of if we're going to see a winter storm this weekend. It's really just more of a question of what we're going to see with the winter storm. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of what we're going to see with it. So timing right now, Saturday afternoon through the day on Sunday. Snow, sleet, freezing rain, all potential when it comes down to this winter storm, which is going to lead to dangerous travel. That's the obvious thing, but we also could see some possible power outages, and that would be a bigger concern if the ice threat goes up. Now, if the ice threat goes down for this weekend, the outage threat would also go down as well. What's also undetermined is how much snow and ice we're going to see, and then just the timing of those precipitation types, when we might see that sleet, when we might see the snow, and when we might see the freezing rain. Hopefully by Thursday and Friday, we'll be able to get a little bit more detailed than that. Now, I can tell you this, we're going to get very cold this weekend, and that cold air is going to be lingering into early next week. The problem with some of the recent busted winter weather events around here is because we didn't have the cold air. Well, we've got plenty of it this time. That Arctic air is going to be driving down into the Carolinas this weekend, and it's going to be settling in across not only the mid-Atlantic, but also up to the upper Midwest, the Northeast, down to the deep South. This is going to be a very cold air mass for quite some time across much of the lower 48. You provide that colder air, and you put moisture with it, and that's going to lead to a winter weather mess across much of the country, from the central U.S. all the way to the mid-Atlantic and even parts of the southeast as well. So this is a look at the American model. The latest model is bringing the snow in actually a little bit earlier on timing now, trying to bring it in Saturday morning. Now, this is just one model run that's been doing that. It's been more so towards the late Saturday afternoon time frame. So I'm going to stick with that for now. But notice, you've got snow and that wintry mix line starting to lift a little bit further north north up towards the I-85 corridor. Sunday night into Monday or into Sunday, Saturday night into Sunday morning. Notice you've got that wintry mix still over the Charlotte area. You've got snow towards the mountains and foothills, and then more of a wintry mix through the day on Sunday, especially south of the I-85 corridor. Now, our in-house model still keeping the storm moving in really more so towards Saturday afternoon, but it's also still keeping more of that icy mix for much of the region. So that's the big deal here. You're either A, going to get snow, and then it's going to transition over to wintry mix. B, you're going to get kind of a mixture of snow and ice throughout the storm. Or C, you're going to get maybe a crippling ice storm out of this, and that's something we're going to have to watch here as we go over the next several days. Temperatures in the 50s here over the next couple of days, 40s on Friday. Then Saturday through really Tuesday, man, it's just going to get bitter cold. We've got overnight lows in the teens by Sunday morning, continuing through Tuesday morning. And that Arctic air, unfortunately, it's going to be sticking around through much of early next week. And that could also delay some things when it comes down to recovery and melting of some of that snow and ice as well. So tomorrow it's just going to be a very cold start. We start in the 20s, getting into the 50s for the afternoon, 30s Thursday morning, 50s for the afternoon, a few showers Thursday and Friday. Then our winter storm moves in Saturday. And that bitter cold air lingers through Monday, and that storm also continues through the second half of the weekend, Caroline.
Thanks, Brandon. The owners of the Las Vegas Sphere are planning another location. Why those who live near it are excited and skeptical. And it's becoming a growing trend how medical experts are benefiting from a surge in body donations. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. More and more people are donating their bodies to science. Lexi Lepoff talked with Ohio researchers about this growing trend.
They chose to do that purely for someone else.
I think it's invaluable, is really the best way to explain it.
The Ohio State medical students regularly in the anatomy lab tell me nothing can replicate the learning experience of working with a real human body.
You realize in that moment, this is a person who had memories, who had feelings, who had a whole experience in life. It really hits home just exactly like how invaluable this is as an experience.
The university has an average of 250 donors each year. It's an after-death option, getting more attention nationwide in the past decade. Associate Anatomy Professor Dr. Melissa Quinn says there's more awareness now, and public perception has changed.
We do hear that it's more of an uptick because people are talking about it, and it's not as scary or gross when people hear about what body donation is.
Another big reason you may not think about, saving money. The average cost of a funeral is nearly $8,000. Programs like Ohio State's typically cover the cost for cremation and sending the remains back to the families after the body is used for learning. They also pay for the death certificate and body transportation.
We take the majority of those who do sign up, and when they do pass, they come straight to us and they're under our care.
Dr. Quinn says students work with the donor bodies for a wide variety of educational opportunities, like learning about new medical procedures or research projects to better understand different diseases.
There's people that have always wanted to do this to help students, to help their loved ones as well, because they know that we might learn something new just from them, which is amazing.
A major shift in the case against a Raleigh teenager charged in a deadly mass shooting, the pending court appearance for the alleged gunman. And this New Orleans play is a total snooze fest, but it certainly won't put you to sleep. Why this show's topic is anything but tired. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. South Carolina lawmakers are considering a bill to expand the state's oversight of monuments. As Emma Charles reports, the measure comes during an ongoing controversy in Charleston over a marker dedicated to Confederate General Robert E. Lee.
South Carolina lawmakers considering a bill updating the Heritage Act passed in 2000.
Implementation have over 26 years' time brought demonstrable incidences or experiences where the intent of the legislation has not kept up with the reality of the times.
But this bill would expand current protections, listing any memorials, monuments, markers, and more that honor all historical conflicts, any public figure or commemorative event, as well as streets, bridges, and roads that were dedicated in memory of a historical or public figure. As the protections under this new law are very broad, lawmakers share concerns about its scope, such as would sale of property, including a monument or memorial, be allowed without State House permission? If the public figure is convicted of a crime or removed from office and the local government no longer wishes to honor that person, would that have to go through the House?
It just seems that this is setting us up for all sorts of problems as we try to modernize and develop.
And concerns about the amount of responsibility it would give the State House about the many markers, memorials, monuments, road names, and more throughout the state, and taking away powers from local government.
But what my concern would be is that we are taking a whole lot out of the hands of local government. And I remember there was a time that we felt as if the best government will be the government that's closest to the people.
And here in Charleston, the bill could have a large impact on our local governments. State Senator Ed Sutton, who represents the Charleston area, saying that the current bill requires too much red tape and won't be popular among citizens.
Quite honestly, like a way to grow big government, and I think the majority of the state is not looking for that. We don't need folks in Columbia that have no connection with our local community micromanaging every decision on a plaque like that. I think like people in South Carolina are going to push back against that.
Closing arguments are set for tomorrow in the trial of former Uvalde school police officer Adrian Gonzalez. He faces 29 counts of child endangerment tied to his response to the deadly 2022 shooting at Robb Elementary. Prosecutors say Gonzalez failed to take action to stop or distract the gunman from getting into the school, but one of the defense's witnesses, a retired SWAT officer, testified Gonzalez's actions that day were reasonable.
You would have stood there for 3 minutes? I was not there and experiencing everything that was being experienced. I think it would be an unfair assessment on my part with myself personally, my training, my experience. I would probably absorb information a lot different.
The judge says prosecutors and defense attorneys will get 90 minutes each for closing arguments, which begin tomorrow morning. The teen accused of killing 5 people in a Raleigh mass shooting is expected to plead guilty tomorrow. Austin Thompson's trial was set to begin next month. Dina Harley reports on the abrupt change bringing this case to a close.
This motion filed this morning, the day before the court had a pretrial motions hearing scheduled in the case against then 15-year-old Thompson, accused of shooting and killing 5 people in October of 2022. Thompson's attorneys say he, quote, has decided he wishes to save the community and the victims from as much additional infliction of trauma as possible, end quote. They say he can't explain why he went on the killing spree because of a brain injury after a gunshot wound to his own head that day. The brain injury is something his attorneys have pointed to before as well. In a motion filed earlier this month, his attorneys moved to exclude evidence at trial of statements he made to police guarding his hospital room after the shooting, saying Thompson at times thought he was in another country on a mission trip. With the plea now expected, though, that motion and other attempts to exclude evidence become moot as the judge will move right to the plea and sentencing. His team says Thompson, quote, hopes that the material presented at this sentencing hearing brings as much peace and closure as possible, end quote. Since he was 15 years old at the time of the shooting, he won't face the death penalty. Instead, he faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. The motion did not mention any deal Thompson's attorneys may have made with the state to bring that time down. He could be sentenced as early as this week.
Police say a Fort Bragg soldier will not face any charges for a deadly shooting at a North Carolina restaurant. Investigators say a fight over a motorcycle club's equipment led to the January 3rd shooting outside Mac's Speed Shop in Fayetteville. 2 brothers were killed. Police say surveillance video shows the gunman was acting in self-defense.
It's a tragedy of what occurred here. You know, and just like we said in the release, any loss of life is something that's a heavy weight on our city, on our department, and having to go through that, and you know, and it's difficult to have that conversation with a family who is still grieving. But we also felt it was very important to meet with them and share that with them before we put it out to the public.
The Army's Criminal Investigation Unit is running its own investigation into this case. Officials in eastern North Carolina are making sure they're ready if tragedy strikes. Onslow County deputies held an active shooter exercise today at a middle school. Olivia Wolfson shows us they're drilling for the worst.
It's a parent's worst nightmare, an active shooting incident at their child's school. That's why multiple Onslow County agencies are practicing today in case such a tragedy were to happen for this community.
What we have going on here today is a simulated active shooter on a school campus. So this has been led and conducted by the Onslow County Sheriff's Office and Onslow County Emergency Services, and other law enforcement agencies are involved in that. It was an opportunity for our school to get a feel for what it would look like from our side, but also more importantly give our law enforcement partners the opportunity to be able to come out and put their skills to use in an actual school setting.
It's an exercise they hope to never use.
I think one of the longer term impacts of this is that people see the commitment that Onslow County Schools and our local law enforcement partners have to maintaining the safety and security of our staff and students.
The Onslow County Sheriff's Office had roughly 50 to 60 staff at the drill.
We have learned communication between the agencies. We do pretty good at it, trying to corral and control the response of such a large number of people. There's a lot of moving parts when you do something like this.
Some of those moving parts include live actors and weighted dummies to make the experience as real as possible.
I think it's important for the public to know that we do train and train with other responding agencies and fire and EMS as well to make sure that we're there if something does happen. Of course, your first move is prevention, which we work on every day between the schools and our SROs and our community to make sure we don't have an incident that occurs like this. But if it does, you got to be prepared to respond to it.
Students didn't have school today, so that allowed these agencies to practice at their best capabilities.
Members of the House Oversight Committee will meet tomorrow to vote on whether to hold former President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress. Republicans want the Clintons to testify about their knowledge of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, but the committee's leader refused the couple's conditions for sitting for a deposition. Committee members will vote on both contempt measures tomorrow morning. Supreme Court justices will hear arguments tomorrow about President Trump's effort to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. The Trump administration is accusing Cook of mortgage fraud, even though she's not been charged. Justices will consider whether the president has the authority to remove her. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is expected to be at the hearing to support Cook. If the court rules in President Trump's favor, he could appoint a new federal governor to replace Cook, giving his members a majority on the board. The Sphere is coming to the nation's capital. The unique and iconic venue in Las Vegas is the inspiration for a smaller scale structure in Washington, D.C. It's planned for the parking lot next to the MGM Grand Casino in Maryland, just outside Washington. Some are excited about the addition to the city skyline. Others worry what it'll mean for traffic.
More traffic means more money coming in, but the commute for the regulars that live around here is going to be hectic. Like one light is just 10 minutes alone.
The project is expected to create about 2,500 jobs during construction and more than 4,700 once operations begin. We told you a couple weeks ago about a push to end balloon releases in North Carolina due to environmental impact. But now a Texas electric company says they can also cause problems with power lines, possibly knocking out power for thousands of people. Lubbock Power officials say Mylar balloons conduct electricity and can create an arc between power lines. More than 2,000 homes in the city lost power just this month because of a balloon.
You have a larger electrical line that is carrying electricity to a section of town that suffers damage and has to go offline. It's going to disrupt power downstream to all of those individuals.
Utility workers say it only takes one decision to prevent this. They ask people to deflate balloons after they're used instead of releasing them into the air. A new 2-hour show at a New Orleans theater is a total snooze fest, but not in the way you might think. Bill Wood tells us why you will want to be wide awake for this sleepy performance.
Public good Japan. Wide awake. It's an alarm clock of a cast on stage.
Welcome to Yardhouser's House of Yard.
Rehearsing their lines for their own original play.
And slowly approach your bed and breathe into your eyes.
With their own original music. In a word, it's all about sleep. Excuse me while I hit the snooze button one more time. Why are you performing a play about sleep?
We spend about a third of our lives asleep, and so we felt like it was an important realm to explore.
Sleep is always a good thing.
Usually.
Steve, I thought your typing was a little too loud.
The brains behind the battle against insomnia is New Orleans Intramural Theater, started in 2015 by the guy who's directing this show about shut-eye. He's Bennett Kirshner. What's the name of the show?
Somnotomy.
How do you spell that?
Somnotomy.
Somnotomy. I'd never heard that word before.
Yeah, it's a made-up word.
What did you make up the definition to be?
It is an operation that takes place when a sleep interventionist, also a made-up profession, helps cure someone of a sleep ailment. And iced in this house, we believe, coming right up.
All this creativity is coming out of Kanoa. It's a community art space on St. Claude. Set in a New Orleans coffee shop with a barista who serves a mean latte by day and by night has not-so-sweet dreams about a sleep paralysis demon. What does a sleep paralysis demon sound like?
Kind of like this.
And what does a sleep paralysis demon do for a living?
Well, so sometimes between waking up or falling asleep, a figure might appear and, cause trouble.
Well, you are a demon.
Yes. Yes.
Yo, Francois, bro, what is up?
With a well-caffeinated cast of local actors, they're up all night to give you something to think about, to laugh at, and then go home and sleep on it.
Well, as you go to sleep at night, make sure that you have a big coat handy for tomorrow morning. Another cold start tomorrow. Teens and 20s for the kiddos at the bus stop. But high temperatures tomorrow will be in the upper 40s and low 50s. Pretty comfortable. But as we head towards the weekend, we are preparing for that weekend winter storm coming up next. We'll talk about that, what we do know about the storm, and what we don't. Details coming up next.
Improving literacy in the Low Country, a South Carolina group's mission to make sure every child learns to read. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. Leaders of a Charleston nonprofit group will soon premiere a documentary called The Rising Tide: Literacy in the Lowcountry. The organization's mission is to make sure every child learns to read. Octavia Mitchell spoke to a mother and daughter featured in the project.
All right, you know what to do.
Fourth grade student Logan Kershaw is feeling more confident about her reading abilities.
A big idea, a super idea.
But it was a journey to reach this flow.
When I didn't know how to read, it was really hard, and everyone else, it was easier for them. It was hard for me. My mom told me that I had dyslexia, and I didn't know what that meant.
I noticed in second grade that Logan wasn't progressing as I thought she should be. Homework was taking longer. I'd taken her to these side tutoring sessions to get help on phonics, and she just wasn't picking it up. So I took it upon myself to look outside for help. Her teacher helped me find, they introduced me to OG.
OG, Orton Gillingham, is a structured, multi-sensory, systemic, and diagnostic approach to teaching reading, writing, and spelling, developed for individuals with language-based learning difficulties.
And so how has the OG approach benefited Logan?
Tremendous, tremendous difference. She's more confident.
Now I don't have to be like discluded, like not knowing how to read, and I do know how to read, and it's very easier than when I was in like second grade and first grade.
Lowcountry Literacy Project is working to provide intensive OG training, coaching, and resources, partnering with Charleston County School District to transform classroom instruction and ensure all children become proficient readers, reducing the need for outside costly tutoring like the Kershaw family experienced. Lindsay Ballinger is Executive Director of Lowcountry Literacy Project.
We started this project in 3 schools here in CCSD, and this year we have expanded, working with CCSD directly, and we're in 2 Title I schools, Matilda Dunstan and Ladson Elementary, and we are excited to be able to support those teachers and see student outcomes really thrive.
I think if we have the OG teachers certified in the schools, then they'll be able to recognize it. And you need that community, that guidance to help you, show you how to, what you're missing and how to navigate through the process of getting your kids help.
Kershaw's message to parents?
Don't be afraid to get your child tested and find out, what's going on. I think people put a stereotype on it. They don't want to look into it, but it only helps your child.
Logan says she is so thankful her mother moved mountains to help her turn the page to a new chapter in her story. And to other students who are facing reading challenges, Logan says she wants them to keep trying.
Don't give up, and I hope you learn how to read better, which you will, and get stronger and never give up.
Taking a live look at Uptown Charlotte on our exclusive Arlington camera, we could be in store for a busy weekend when it comes to the winter weather. Meteorologist Brandon Lawson joins me now. Brandon, y'all have been able to figure out a little bit of a better timeline of when this will start.
Yeah, looking like Saturday afternoon, that would be the greatest impact continuing through Sunday. So unfortunately, it's going to be for the better half of the weekend. And the big thing with this is that we're not only going to be tracking snow, we're also going to be tracking the concern for an icy mix as well. And that could lead to more treacherous conditions in regards to power outages as we get closer to it. So live look from Lake Norman tonight. Things pretty quiet, getting ready for another cold night though. Already 34 in Charlotte. Many areas dropping into the 20s, if not teens, by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. But again, all eyes on the winter storm that is going to be brewing for this weekend. Now, we're at that 3 to 5 days out stage of winter weather forecasting where we kind of have a better idea of the timing. We do know that we're going to be seeing several several modes of wintry precipitation, but now we got to get to that 1 to 3 day out period, which comes around Thursday and Friday. That's when we'll be able to detail the forecast a little better for you. That's when we're starting to talk about how much snow, how much ice, when the ice will happen, when the snow will happen. We'll have a better idea of that later this week. So what we know versus what we don't, what we know is that we are going to be tracking a significant weekend winter storm. The timing of the greatest impacts appear to be Saturday afternoon through the entire day on Sunday. Not all of this will be snow. We know that as well. We do know that we're going to be seeing an icy mix somewhere within the Queen City News viewing area. What we don't know is the exact timing of those precipitation types, how much snow and ice we're going to be seeing in the direct impacts. Obviously, the direct impacts will be a little bit easier when we tell how much ice we're going to see or how much snow we're going to see, because obviously if you have more ice, that's going to lead to more power outages. So what can you do right now getting ready for the weekend storm here? So through the week, you want to make sure you're first off deleting some of those default weather apps. They are going to mislead you. They're going to tell you that an apocalyptic snow event is happening. And again, you just got to get rid of those default apps. Download the Pinpoint Weather app. We update it for you. Also, it's just a good idea just to follow some more reputable sources on social media, because again, we are seeing a lot of stuff on social media about major snow. And again, this could be a very icy setup as well. Also, head to the store, stock up a bit, bread, eggs, milk, things like that. Non-perishable foods, winterize your house, your vehicle, and check emergency kits as well, as we'll get more so towards the weekend. Want to make sure you're loading that stuff up too. So here's Futurecast. This is the American model, GFS model. This is going to be a pretty widespread event here, not just for the Carolinas, but also down through ports of the Deep South. I mean, we're talking about Texas, Louisiana, as you're getting through Alabama and Georgia and these areas. I mean, that is how big the storm is going to be. Now, notice as we go into Saturday afternoon, that's when most of the widespread wintry weather spreads into the Carolinas. Starting as snow per the American model, and then eventually transitioning over to a wintry mix around Charlotte, with points north of the I-40 corridor staying as snow throughout the weekend. But I do think there's going to be a transition to a wintry mix at some point, just a matter of how long we hold on to that. Futurecast with our in-house model, that brings more of a wintry mix to the area Saturday afternoon and keeps this as an icy mix throughout the weekend. This would be the worst case scenario, because this would mean that we'd have more of a crippling ice storm versus more snow. So again, Arctic air also going to be a concern through early next week. That could delay some of the melting and delay some of the recovery. High pressure in control for now though. We're dry. Temperatures already dropping into the 20s. Teens in the mountains already tonight. That'll be the story of the mountains later tonight and into tomorrow morning, or the 20s towards Charlotte. So tomorrow we're starting bitter cold, increasing clouds through the day. A few more clouds mixing in with the sun, with temperatures right around the 50-degree mark. We'll be in the mid to upper 50s on Thursday. Spotty shower chances Thursday, and also a few showers Friday. And then we get that winter storm starting Saturday afternoon and continuing through Sunday, with bitter cold air holding tough in early next week here.
Keeping a close eye on that, Brandon. Thanks. These rodents are gaining popularity. Now they're the centerpiece of a Florida cafe. How you can enjoy a cocktail while interacting with capybaras. And Gabe McDonald is here with a preview of Carolina Sports Live at 11.
Absolutely. The latest honors for Tedderell McMillan, the rookie wideout for the Panthers. Also, the latest on defensive coordinator Ezra Evero, who had yet another interview for a head coaching vacancy, plus a full slate of college hoops. And we're going to get you ready for this upcoming NASCAR season. A lot of big headlines coming down on Tuesday. We'll keep you up to date with all that coming up on CSL.
You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. It's an animal that's gained popularity in the past few years. Now capybaras are the main attraction at a brand new cafe in Panama City Beach, Florida. Wild Encounters, a capybara cafe, is open to the public, inviting guests to sip drinks, relax, and interact with capybaras in a fully immersive setting. Guests can enjoy the experience in 2 different settings, at garden tables where capybaras freely roam, or in zen lounges for Cappy Hour, where people can share gelato with the animals.
So day one was very busy, but the look that we had on people's faces when those barn doors are first open and expose you to the cafe space, seeing those excited looks at just the ambiance on the place.
A garden seat is $45 for 30 minutes. People can book an hour in a zen lounge for $375. The money goes into capybara conservation efforts. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. We'll be right back with a final check of your pinpoint forecast, followed by Carolina Sports Live.
Welcome back in. One last look at the forecast before we go. We've got temperatures tonight in the 20s, teens across much of the area. Another cold start tomorrow, 50s for the afternoon, increase in clouds. Mix of sun and clouds Thursday and Friday with a few shower chances, but the big story will be the weekend. We're tracking that winter storm beginning Saturday afternoon and continuing through the day on Sunday. Big time impacts with that. More details on that forecast throughout the week. Bitter cold and early next week.
We know you will continue to fine tune that forecast,
Oh, yeah,
Brandon.
sure.
Thanks for joining us. Carolina Sports Live is next.